Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tina and I'm a part-time reseller. I mostly sell on eBay, but I also sell on Poshmark, and today I'm going to talk about my sales for the month of January. My very first sale for the month of January was actually a pretty big surprise to me. It was for IH International Harvester gloves, one size, vintage 70s 80s construction mechanic. So I threw in construction and mechanic as some keywords. When I first saw these gloves, what stuck out to me is that on the back I could tell that it was vintage. It had the name of the company, but it also had the city and the state that it was made in. So I decided I was going to investigate a little bit further because they looked like they were vintage, and they turned out that they were. They were just these green gloves that I saw in the bin, and they actually ended up selling for my full price of $59.99. They sold pretty quickly. It sold in 45 minutes. So I would absolutely pick up anything that I saw that was in International Harvester. The company actually doesn't exist anymore, and it was a collectible, so I absolutely would pick this up again. Also on the 3rd, I had another sales for this women's Jaden Ivory jacket, women's 2X camouflage lightweight rain burgundy outdoor hooded jacket. It sold for $14.01. I had accepted an offer. I originally wanted to get something that was closer to that $25 mark, just because I don't sell items typically that are under my $20 profit, but I accepted that offer. Initially, I thought that it would be a good pickup because of the fact that it was camouflage and it was a women's 2X. I wish there were a little bit more factors in between there that I could have made that sale pull through, but I ended up accepting that offer, and I did receive a positive feedback. Next up, I have this women's free country coat. It was a women's extra large power down series puffer faux fur hooded black jacket. It sold on January 4th. I did have this one for a while, but I initially posted it, I think, during the summer, so it did sit around. I wanted to pick this one up because it did have that down filling in it, and the hood was attached, which, like if you purchase something and it's at the bins, it might not actually have the hood, but this one did. So I went ahead and I picked that up, and it sold for $31. I originally had it posted for $39, but I went ahead and I accepted that offer. Next up, I sold these on January 5th. It was a pair of Born 9.5 Haley boots, patchwork block heel, suede black leather women's boots. They sold for $40. I initially had them priced a lot higher. The comps were kind of all over the place, but I did think that patchwork detail was really nice, and the fact that it was actually a women's 9.5, which is a little bit higher up. I did like the style, but I think that the reason why this one took so long to sell is because I had it priced a little bit too high. I originally think I had it posted somewhere around like $60, and if I had lowered it a little bit, I think that it would have actually sold faster. Next up, I sold this Tommy Copper bra women's large compression shoulders support with zipper nude bra. It sold on January 7th. I took an offer for $29.74. I originally picked this up because it was new with tags. I did pick this one up from the bins. Next up, I have this women's Free People top. It was a medium Magdalene crochet tunic lace whimsy goth fairy boho top. It sold on January 8th for my full asking price of $34.99. I saw this at the bins. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I knew because of the flowiness that was on the bottom as well as on the sleeve that it was going to be a great pickup, and it had this sort of crochet flower detailing that I just thought was very beautiful, as well as this deep V with like a baby doll sort of style to it. I would have put baby doll if I could have gone back, but I knew that Free People and the fact that this was black, it was flowy, it had crochet, and all of those factors, that it was going to be something that sold for good money. Next up, I sold this on January 8th, and it was a VS2 6 leather skirt, midi high waist, camel tan, vintage women's Western A-line skirt. It was 100% leather, and it was from a vintage brand. When I saw it, it looked like it was about Y2K-ish style. I did have this price initially a little bit higher, but I accepted an offer for $35.99, and I was more than happy to accept that. It was a very reasonable offer, so I did go ahead and I accepted it, and I picked this up originally from the bin, so I didn't have a lot going into it. Next up, I sold this on January 9th. It was this men's Johnny O sweater, men's large Whaling Henley golf pullover, cotton blend blue. It was a men's quarter zip. I did think that it was pretty cool, although at the time when I picked this up, it was when Johnny O was kind of on the downward, and so Johnny O isn't really something I would pick up anymore, just because it doesn't go for as much. It's a little bit oversaturated. I originally had this price a little bit higher at about that $24 mark, but I did accept the offer for $15.99, and I was just happy to get that one out of the door, if I'm being honest with you. I think that if I were to go back, I probably wouldn't have picked it up, but I picked it up at a regular store, and I paid about $5 for this. Next up, I sold this on January 11th. It was a Vertigo Paris pants, women's small embroidered athleisure lounge yoga boho Y2K gray pair of pants. I knew when I saw this, because of the beautiful floral embroidery that was on it, that I wanted to pick it up. I looked at the tag and I could see that it looked like it was from that Y2K era. It did have this sort of like faded gray wash to it, which I wasn't sure if that was intentional or not, but I still went ahead and I picked that one up. I originally had this priced at $39.99, but I did accept an offer for $34, which I thought was 100% reasonable, and I would absolutely pick these pants up again. They didn't take very long to sell, which I thought was nice, and I did get a positive feedback from my buyer. This one sold on January 12th. It was a Fredericks of Hollywood corset women's 34 satin lace garter USA vintage union corset. It did have the back straps missing, like the garter straps were missing on this one, but it was vintage. I was able to look up the tag, and it looked like it was somewhere around like the 70s. It was union made. I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous. I originally had this price at a higher amount. I was trying to sell it for $34. I accidentally sent out a 40% off offer on this one, so it did sell immediately when I did send out that offer, and it sold for $20.99. I didn't have it for very long, which I thought was nice, but if I hadn't made that mistake, I probably could have made a little bit more money. And I would absolutely pick it up again. I enjoy selling vintage items. It's like my favorite thing to sell. Next up, I sold this. It was on January 13th. It was a Valerie Stevens sweater, women's extra large cashmere shawl collar v-neck 2-ply gray sweater, and it sold fairly quickly. The sell-through rate on Valerie Stevens cashmere sweaters are actually really good. At least at the time that I picked this one up, it was. I originally had it priced at $24.99, but it also was one of those items that I sent out that accidental 40% off offer, so it would have sold for more money, but unfortunately I did make that mistake. I would still pick up Valerie Stevens. The sell-through rate is actually pretty good for these kinds of sweaters. But when I sent out the offer, they pretty much accepted it right away. And yeah, I would definitely pick this up again. I got it from the bin, so I didn't have very much into it. Next up, I sold this. It was sold on January 13th. It was a Tommy Bahama shirt, men's large, Paradise, Hawaii, Camp Islands, button up silk. I just thought that the embroidery on this was super unique. It had all of the Hawaiian Islands on the back, and that was my cover photo, which I thought was really nice. It was 100% silk. And I know that some Tommy Bahama, when they do have heavy embroidery, will sell for really good money. So I picked this up in a regular store. I paid about $7 for this, and it sold on an offer for $59.50. I originally had this priced up. I think that I had it originally for closer to that like $70 mark, but I went ahead and accepted this offer. I did have this one for about a year. So I was kind of glad to see that one go. And for these Tommy Bahama shirts like this, I know that they're fairly sought after, so I would absolutely pick this up again. And just think I was being a little bit greedy in the beginning because it was a little bit harder of an item to find. But for that reason, it just kind of sat around. So I don't know that I would price it as high ever again. But if you find something and it's Tommy Bahama and it has like a lot of embroidery on the back, and it does have that factor of the sizing and it being 100% silk, I would absolutely pick that up again. Next up, on January 14th, I sold these American Eagle pants, men's 30 by 30 chino plaid straight vintage brown academia pants. They originally were priced at $24.99. I sent out an offer to this buyer and it sold for $22.49. I did think that these were really great. I could tell by the tag that this was vintage American Eagle. I had a feeling that it probably would sell for decent money, and it did. I'm pretty happy with this. It didn't take very long for it to sell, so I would absolutely pick this one up again. Next up, this sold for me on January 15th. It was a Is Bayer top, women's small milkmaid, baby doll, satin vintage Y2K gold metallic top. I knew when I saw this because of the milkmaid neckline that it had that it was going to be good. It did have a couple of scratches on it, which were just more cosmetic than anything else. But I went ahead and I picked that one up. I just knew that it was going to sell for good money. I originally had this one priced at $24.99, and I accepted an offer for $21.99. I'm pretty happy with this. I would pick it up again. It didn't take very long to sell, but I'm still happy with that. Next up, I sold this. This jacket is actually going to be coming back to me. My buyer said that they didn't know that the color was going to be this dark, although I put that it was dark pewter in listing. But I guess after she had some time to think about it, she originally didn't want this one anymore, so it will be on its way back to me. But it sold on January 15th. I originally had this priced at about $40, and I took an offer for $38. It was just this Kenneth Cole coat, women's large, down puffer long, quilted fur trim hood, dark pewter coat. I mostly picked this up because of the fact that it was down. Kenneth Cole is not really a brand that I look out for whenever I'm out, but I did pick this up at the bin, so I didn't have a lot into this one. If I could go back, I probably would have just changed the dark pewter maybe to a dark brown, but at the time I had also seen other listings that were also saying that this was pewter, and I know that pewter can veer onto that brown side, but maybe when I do get this one back, I'll change the listing so it actually doesn't have that word in it, and just specify that it's more on the brown side as opposed to a black color like this buyer thought initially. Next up, also on January 15th, I sold this World of Wool sweater, women's large chunky knit wool long belt full zip après ski. I like to put in that keyword après ski because I knew that it was like the winter ski season. I had never heard of this brand, World of Wool, but they do make a lot of chunkier knits. I originally had this priced a little bit higher. I did want to get something closer to that $30 mark, but it ended up selling on an offer for $25. I would absolutely pick this up again. I unfortunately did buy this in a regular thrift store though, so I ended up paying about $7 for this. And at that price point, it's not exactly meeting my metrics of that $20 profit that I look for, but at the same time, it did sell fairly quickly, so I'm happy with that. Next up on the 16th, I had this LL Bean sweater, women's extra large double L cable knit full zip cardigan cotton blue sweater. This sold for me for $38. I originally was looking for something closer to that $39 mark. This one did take a while to sell, but because it was at women's extra large and it did have that cable knit detailing on it, that fisherman sort of style that was really popular. I don't know if I wouldn't pick this one up. It just took a little bit longer to sell. Next up, I have this pair of Haley Hansen Kids 14 insulated Rico weatherproof ski snowboard youth pants. These were just some insulated snow pants for kids. They sold on January 17th. I originally picked this up at the bins and someone had actually thrown it back. So when I picked this up, I wasn't sure if the flaw that it had toward the bottom, where it looked like maybe it was dragging on something, if that would be a deal breaker for a buyer. But it does look like these pants actually had a pretty great sell-through rate, and it sold for me for $40. I originally had it priced at $49, but I accepted an offer, and I would absolutely pick these up again. They sold fairly quickly, like within days. Next up, I sold this on January 20th. It was a Spanx bodysuit, women's large, spotlight on lace shapewear, adjustable straps, beige bodysuit. I picked this up in the bins. It sold for my full asking price of $29.99, and I would pick this up. Spanx is a brand that I don't necessarily go out of my way to purchase. I know that you have to buy a lot of their newer items and you can't just pick up anything. But when I saw this, I knew that it would sell pretty quickly because there wasn't another one in that size and in that color that was for sale. So I knew this one was going to sell, and it did sell fairly quickly. So I would absolutely pick this up again. Next up, I have this, and it sold on January 23rd. It was a Howler Brothers adjustable strap mesh back trucker hat, blue-gray El Mono monkey hat. I did pick this up in the bins. It did have some corrosion around the top where it had the metal sort of piece in the center. It did sell for lower than what I would want to. It sold for $14.99. I did not look up comps for this, so I'm kind of disappointed, and it took quite a while to sell because of the fact that it had some wear on it. But I think that at the time when I picked this up in the bins that I just had brand blindness. I had never found Howler Brothers before, so I went ahead and I picked it up thinking that it would sell for more money. For a while there, I had it priced a little bit closer to that $25 range, but once I lowered the price, it was able to sell. And I do sell hats. It's just I'm very particular about the hats that I do sell. So I don't think that I would pick this up again. You can't just pick up anything in a brand. Next up, this sold for me on January 24th. It was a pair of Levi's jeans, women's size 12, 550 relaxed fit, tapered leg, black vintage 90s denim. I did have this one for quite some time, so I ended up marking it down to $14.99. and I originally had it on the auction, but nobody was biting, so I did set it at that $14.99 mark, hoping that I would be able to get it out. I originally bought these at a time where I was just picking up any vintage Levi's that I saw. All right, next up, I have this. This sold on January 25th. It was a pair of stud pants, women's 16 Louisa wide leg high rise pleated cotton camel khaki pants. They sold for $36. I originally had this priced way higher at one point, but I ended up taking an offer on this. I did get several offers in the $20 to $30 range, and while I understand that these were very much so like just a basic khaki pair of pants, Staud is a brand that I would absolutely pick up again. Just possibly not in this, and I did think that because it was this wide leg that's very popular, that it would mean that it would sell for more money. So I'm not upset at it. I did pick it up in the bin, so I didn't have very much into it, but I wish that I initially hadn't priced it as high that I did. I think I originally wanted to get closer to that $60 mark, but I am happy. This one did sit around for quite some time, so I probably would just lower the price if I were to change anything. Next up, this also sold on January 25th. It was this LL Bean shirt, men's large, tall, Henley wool blend, 2-layer river driver green men's shirt. It sold for $22.49 on an offer. I originally had this priced at $25. What attracted me to this was that it was a large, tall men's. It also had that wool blend, and LL Bean is a brand that I love selling. LL Bean is one of those bread and butter brands that you can pick up a lot of things and it will sell for good money, just because it can be expensive to purchase LL Bean and the quality is great. So I did sell this one. I had it for quite some time, but I would still pick it up again. And I know that men's Henleys are something that are sought after, so I would absolutely pick this up again, even though it did sit for some time. And I did pick this up from the Goodwill bins actually, so I didn't have a lot into it. Next up, I have this. Is sold on January 26th. It was a Eileen Fisher pants, women's extra large, wide leg, wool blend, high rise gray minimalist pants. I said that they were a wide leg. I feel like they were more of a straight leg. They did end up selling for $27.99, and that was for my full asking price. I wish that I hadn't picked these up. I picked them up at a regular store and I paid about that $7 mark for them. Women's extra large I thought was a safe bet for Eileen Fisher. I've had pretty good luck with that size, but it just didn't have enough oomph, I think, to give it that extra push for someone to go ahead and buy it. Next up, I have this Peter Millar quarter zip men's extra large Perth Performance pullover blue Co-Star group. It sold on January 27th. I purchased this at the bins and it did sell for my $29.99 price fairly quickly, which was my full amount. And I knew when I saw this, because it was Peter Millar, that it had that Co-Star embroidery on it, that it was a quarter zip, that it was going to sell for good money. Quarter zips are popular right now. That was a huge TikTok trend, and I did see a lot more quarter zips in my closet sell for good money. So I knew when I saw this one that it was going to sell fairly quickly. I didn't have much into this, so I would absolutely pick it up again, and it did sell fairly quick. Next up, on January 28th, I had this Disney Spirit jersey women's large lollipop Mickey Disneyland long sleeve top. It sold for $27.99. I originally had this priced a little bit higher. It was more for like that $30 mark, but I picked this up in the bin, so I didn't have a lot into it. It didn't hang around for very long. It was only for a few months, but I would pick this up again, absolutely. I knew when I saw it that some Spirit jerseys can actually go for good money, So I was happy to do that, and I did get a positive feedback from my buyer. Okay, and the last thing to sell for me for the month of January sold on January 31st. It was this and other story shirt, women's large button up yak wool oversized relaxed beige top. I did have this one for quite some time. I was a little bit disappointed that it did take so long to sell, but I was happy to go ahead and sell it and get it out. I did have it priced originally closer to that $50 mark, so maybe I had it priced a little bit too high. Even though I know that it's a brand that's made by H&M, their quality is a little bit higher. Alright, so that's all of my sales for the month of January. Let me know if there were any surprises that you saw, things that you didn't know sold for good money, or what you guys' sales were like in January also for me, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.